Okay, so I hope you guys are having a great Thanksgiving week and that you're spending time with your families. Today will be my personal thoughts on the speakers that you guys have been listening to over the last 4 to 5 weeks in my room. As you can see, in case you're wondering, there's absolutely nothing here. The magnet pens are the only ones that are here, right next to me. There's absolutely no speakers now. Jay has sold all his speakers. In case you're wondering, that's really what happened. The Mephisto finally has been turned off for the last 3 days. And yeah, I think that's the first time this amplifier has had any break. Since I'm not using it, then I decided to shut it off. So I know that a lot of you guys have been messaging me about, my opinion on every single speaker I've had over the last 5-6 weeks, as I mentioned before. And I want to make sure that I say this very clearly. This is my opinion. This is what I found inside my room. Okay? So if it doesn't align with your feelings about the speaker, it's too bad, I'm giving my own review, my own take on what I heard here inside my room. All right, so don't get, all angry or defensive if I am being, maybe brutal or honest or raw, however you want to say it, about a particular speaker that you like from the speakers I've owned. All right, everyone will get their pros and cons when it comes to speakers, and that's what I'm going to try to do here. So, first up, Magnepan 20.7s in the room. Pros for the speaker. The pros for the speakers it's fast, spacious, and it's got excellent imaging. When partnered with the right gear, it'll give you a level of realism that will make you question your previous and more expensive speaker purchases. That's right. A lot of times I found myself wondering, why am I spending so much more money on other speakers? The Magnepan 20.7 really puts that big question mark. It really gives you the feeling that there is no need to spend more money on more expensive speakers. I mean, it really has a feeling that it's very, very lively and real. Obviously, depending on the electronics that you're using, you almost get the feeling that someone is behind the panel, whacking a drum, playing the guitar or the piano. You feel like you should just stand up and check behind the panels to see if there's anyone seated there, because it does sound very real. I'm not going to tell you that it does not. It really does. It is by far the best speaker under $25,000. It really does present a huge image. Very tall soundstage. I like the fact that you can move the tweeter inside and out depending how you want to, listen to your music. I personally had the tweeters always inward, and I found that it had better focus between the speakers when I did that. But I wouldn't be, opposed to trying perhaps the tweeters out. Some say there is a bigger soundstage when you do that. So I did try that briefly, but I continuously went back to the same setup that you have seen, which is the tweeters on the inside of the speaker. Okay. It really is, in my opinion, the best speaker that I have ever owned under $25,000. It easily beats the Martin Logan 13As. It easily beats any, 11A, any, Martin Logan Montes. I mean, it's, Summit, all of those speakers. It really easily, it beats, Focal Sopar 2s, in my opinion. It beats a lot of other speakers, the Cantas from Focal. I'd still probably rather own the Magnepan, if I'm being honest here. It's just a lot of fun of a speaker. It's a lot of fun. It really is. It just gets you going into this happy mood that you have now the feeling of a bigger submersive presentation that you typically would have to achieve by buying a very expensive tall speaker. Speakers that are Wilson XLF or Chronosonic or something along those lines in order to get a presentation so large. And I think that's one of the most appealing things about the speaker. The cons, of course, like every speaker, it's got huge size, over 6 feet tall. It needs a ton of power, guys. Here, I will tell you, this speaker, guys, needs a lot of amplification to really come alive. Low amplifiers that don't have a lot of wattage, a lot of current or voltage, just simply do not seem to wake up this panel. This speaker, in my opinion, is not the speaker that you can enjoy at low levels. I don't think the speaker really does anything for me. When I listen to it at low levels, there was not any spark. There wasn't any imaging happening. It seems like it just gets completely dull and obscure. There's nothing happening. Like, it really, the magic of the speaker just disappears when you listen to it at low volumes. So keep that in mind. If you buy the speaker, I feel you have to crank it up to really enjoy the speaker. Also, another knock on this speaker is that the sweet spot is a thing. It really is a thing with this speaker. You know, it plays very big, as I mentioned to you before, but you really lose a lot of the magic of the speaker when you're not seated in between the speakers. Okay, and I compare that with other speakers that I'm going to be talking about here. You really do feel like a lot of that great feeling you're there, it just vanishes when you're seated off to the right or to the left of the center position. It's just not there. It doesn't have the slam, of course. We know it doesn't really do bass too well. I mean, we know that. That's no surprise there. And in my opinion, it needs a big room. It really does need a big room to capitalize on it. This is an excellent speaker. That's a lot of fun if you have the room and the amplification. You really would have a field day with this speaker if you paid enough attention to it. If you got, the stands that are recommended, the my stands, I think they're called, and the fuses, and, you got to play with it. I think the speaker would really, really be a fun speaker to play with. I'm just simply not that guy. I'm simply not going to embark on that. I've already mentioned that. I'm not the guy that's going to go buy fuses and cables and aluminum foil and cover the amplifiers. And I'm just not that guy. I went ahead and became an amplifier stand type of guy now. Buying the critical mass that you see there and the other stand that's under the boulder. But as far as like the extra minute things that some of you guys like to do, I'm just not that guy. I'm not going to venture into start taking apart things, my components, and reworking them and doing things that the manufacturer should have actually done before releasing the product. You're never going to catch me doing that. I just want to be clear on that. All right. I will go as far as putting the right, stands under it, or the cables, or the positioning, the toe in, the toe out. I'll go as far as that. But when it comes to taking stuff apart and improving it, I'm not that guy. I'm not an electrician. I'm not an electronic engineer. I'm not going to do that. It's just simply not my thing. Okay. Next, Wilson Audio Alexia 2. The Alexia 2 was with me for about 2 months, and what I gather from my time with it was dynamics. Did I mention muscle and slam? Mids have a feeling of being suspended in the air between the speakers. The highs are smooth if you have the right cabling. I don't feel the speaker is a great speaker for Nordos Odin. I don't like Nordos Odin with Wilson. I do believe, don't get me wrong, normal listening volumes, you're okay. Crank it up and you have a timer counting down before you turn the volume down. You can't hang on to that volume level with a Wilson speaker and Nordos Odin speaker cables. It gets a little too much. The next is the big and wide soundstage. It really reveals everything your supporting cast is doing. It's a musical speaker, never analytical. I never felt the Wilson Audio in general is a speaker that's going to be very analytical, that's going to make you hate certain songs or disappoint you because you're not playing the best recordings out there. Don't get me wrong, it is transparent and it will tell you when a song is not that great. That it will do. But it doesn't really punish you. It doesn't really hurt you. It doesn't really make you want to turn it down because the selection of music or even some components that you have are not the best of the best. I actually was very shocked at one time. I remember a buddy of mine had the Sasha ones, and I have never owned Wilson at that time, right? Never had it. He introduced me to Wilson, and I remember he was streaming from his iPhone to a crappy Blue Sound streaming device, right? And I was very shocked how good it sounded. I really was very shocked how great it sounded. It almost feels like Wilson always sounds good, even if your sources are not the best. Now, of course, if you put a better supporting cast, it's going to pay you dividends with it. No question about it, like any other speaker. It will do that for you. I also like the fact that this generation of Alexia 2, just like the previous generation of Alexia 2, has soft dome tweeters. I don't really care for the aluminum, tweeter. I just feel that would be a little too fatiguing for me. I tend to just not like fatiguing presentations because I do like to crank up my volume occasionally. I'm not the guy that listens at low volumes. I never have been. I never will be. But occasionally, I do. But for the most part, I'm somewhere in the middle, a moderate volume listener. That's what I would call myself. And very few speakers can really, really do a great job like Wilson can at moderate volumes and low volumes. Okay, that said, I'm going to get real with the cons of the Wilson Alexia 2. This speaker, and not just this speaker, I think for the most part, any Wilson audio speaker needs the right room to give you all the impact that it is capable of. All right, it really relies a lot on the room, more so than the rest of the speakers that I have mentioned or I will be mentioning here. If you have the wrong room for this speaker, you will be wondering, where the hell is the bass? I've heard that from some of you guys that I'm doing consulting with. Some of you guys have told me, hey, Jay, man, I have Wilson Sashas. I don't have any bass. I don't really know where to place him anymore. I have him up against the wall. I have him far away from the wall. There's no bass. Yes, that's a thing with Wilson Audio, guys. I had the Sasha 2s in the living room at one point, and I had no bass. I didn't know what happened. I moved around. My seat was moved. Couldn't get any bass. And then I remember I said, well, maybe it's just my room is that bad, right? So then I brought a pair of Focal Sopra 3s, and voila, bass was there. I got bass, no problem. So Wilson is very room dependent. Okay, remember that. That is one thing. If you are considering Wilson and you have no experience with it, I'm going to tell you from a 4-time Wilson audio speaker owner, okay? The room plays a huge role, not just with Wilson, with any speaker. I understand that. But with Wilson, it's just that much more important. It really is. That bass relies a lot on the back wall, guys. It really does. I'm not going to lie to you. If I didn't have a dedicated room, I do not think I would have been having so many, I would have been buying so many Wilson audio speakers. I really don't think so. But I'm glad that I have the room for it and I can make him sound really, really good. Another thing that is a con for me about the speaker is if you push this speaker too hard, it will get shouty on you. Okay, the mids specifically will jump off the speaker, and you will feel as if someone is screaming in your ear. That's the effect that you get. When you crank up the speaker too loud, you get that feeling. The mids begin to just almost pierce your hearing. Okay, that's one thing that I remember very clearly with this one and with the Sasha DAW. Now, it could be just the fact that maybe I am hitting the limitations of the speaker, and if I want to play at that particular volume level, I need to be buying an Alex or an XLF or Chronosonic. I need to be into a bigger cabinet, a bigger speaker that's more effortless, right, at higher volumes. It could be that. I really don't know. But I will say it. If you crank it up too loud, it does get a little shouty for me. Your ears will not like it very much. Another thing that I think this is actually just me. It's my personal pet peeve. It's my personal issue with Wilson Audio. That carpet around the front, man. What the hell is that carpet around the front? Like I'm carpet now. Before it was like foam. It was rotting and falling apart, as you can see on this picture. Like, this is what happened on the previous generation of Wilson audio speakers. And I understand that was before, but even today, guys, I mean, the carpet they're using, it's like whatever that is, whatever material they're using now, it has this, you have all this like thread that begins to fall off in chunks, like hair, like it begins to just disintegrate too. I've seen it. And for me, it's like, damn, you're a high-end audio speaker manufacturer, right? And you're putting that carpet. I mean, I understand the purpose of that is to help with, absorbing, reflections and so that make sure that the sound, doesn't have any sort of like reflection points, right? That's really the reason why that is, right? That's what that's for. And I understand it, but can they figure something else out? Is there something else, another material they can work with that get rid of those carpets already? Jesus Christ, it's horrible. Like, that's quite frankly, again, I have owned Wilson. It's hideous when you have those grills off. It really is horrible looking. And I hope somebody sends Wilson Audio this video. I hope one of you guys can send it to them. I'm saying it out loud. Get rid of that carpet on the front of the speaker. Nobody, and you're the first ones who say all the time, take off the grills when you do critical listening. Take off the grills when you do critical listening. Well, I'm not about to be taking them on and off all the time. Get rid of those carpet. Get rid of that carpet on the front. That's terrible. A speaker that expensive with that kind of carpet, what is that? It's just horrible. So, I want to make sure I say that, because I know a lot of Wilson Audio owners would agree with me. That has to go. They need to come up with something better. They do so much, research and development. What happened to that carpet? It's time to start hiring people to do a better job at that. They start to change the colors, the shape, the cabinet, the port now is in the middle. They put bigger spikes, but the carpet continues to be there. Like, nobody's looking at the carpet, apparently, at Wilson Audio. I don't know what they're doing in Utah, but Jesus Christ, that carpet is quite obvious, guys. Nobody's missing that carpet. Okay? Nobody. Get rid of that carpet, please, Wilson Audio. The next one, another con is, of course, the speaker tends to not be everyone's cup of tea. And of course, it does not have the wife approval factor. Believe it or not, I have been criticized often here in my own, here in my own home that they're not very good looking speakers. I agree with that. They're not. They really are not. I would say if I were to give Wilson Audio a grade in terms of aesthetics, C- or a D is what I would give them. My opinion, C- or a D. But of course, this is not about looks. This is about the sound. I understand that, but I wanted to throw that in there so you guys understand how I feel about the aesthetics as well. All right, next one, Magico M3. Now, coming from the extreme opposite, aesthetically speaking, I come now to what I consider one of the most gorgeous looking speakers made today. In my opinion, the Magico M3 is just beautiful. It's timeless. It's a speaker that you can have 10 years from now and nothing will rot outside. Nothing. Okay? It will look beautiful. That carbon fiber around the speaker is beautiful. It's just a very beautiful looking speaker. It really is. That's a perfect example of what a good looking speaker is about. I also like the size of the speaker. It's not too big. It's not too small. It's a perfect size speaker. It's got an outstanding amount of resolution. Huge soundstage. And actually, I'm beginning to wonder, guys, if this speaker had a bigger soundstage than the Alexia 2s. I will say to you, there were times where I was not convinced that the Alexia 2 had a bigger soundstage than this M3. This M3 throws a huge sound presentation. It is just massive. Also, this is, in my opinion, the speaker out of all these speakers that I'm reviewing, the speaker that pulled the best disappearing act. By far. This is the speaker that disappeared the very best out of all four speakers. It walked out of the room every time the music came on. Could be the design, the fact that it doesn't have any edges on the cabinet. Could be that. But I never heard the speaker in here. All I heard was music. The mid-range on this speaker is excellent. I loved it. I know, guys, I did not play the Griffin Pandora on the two videos that I had. posted. It was with the Boulder 2110 line stage, but I will say to you, the mids on that speaker are incredible. I would say just as good, if not maybe possibly better than the Alexia 2, which I love, its highs. Alexia 2 has incredible highs. It really does sound very clean as well. The speaker sounds very, very clean and clear. Tight bass, obviously this speaker doesn't really interact with the room very much. I did like the bass that I had here. No. Is it Alexia bass? No. Does it slam as hard? No, it does not. But that's the design, right? That's a sealed cabinet against a ported cabinet. That's just what happens. I also, for some of you guys who really do not know this tweeter, the M series tweeter, is far more refined than the S series or even the A series from Magical. I have owned the S5 MK2s, and no, this M series tweeter is on another level. It's far more resolving, never fatiguing. In my opinion, it never really bit my ears off. Now, of course, again, if you use Nordo's Odin cables, good luck with that. I wouldn't do it. Extremely easy to place, guys. This speaker, I honestly threw it over there, right there, and like around here, right? Very far back. And I swear to you, everything here has sound. Everything, at the top, everywhere. I had a lot of sound. I couldn't believe how easy it was to place that speaker. It just sounded good everywhere. It really did. I never felt like, and let alone, I didn't even use the M pods. I understand that. I never got around to that. But it was impressive how great it sounded. And I think it's because it really doesn't interact very much with the room. I mean, there's always a little bit of interaction. Let's keep it real. I mean, it's not going to be completely not, it's not going to just be completely absent from the room. It still communicates with your walls somewhat, but not as much as a ported speaker. But it just sounded good everywhere. And I really felt like that speaker was so easy to place. So easy. I was shocking myself how good it was. Now, I mentioned it. This is a speaker that's not really bright sounding, but I was using, remember, I'm using AudioQuest cabling, which is not bright to begin with. If, as I mentioned earlier, if you use Nordo's Odin, I just wouldn't like the presentation. I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't do that. Okay, with the M3, I wouldn't do that. Cons, here we go. You all need to grab a drink here because I'm about to let it rip. You all ready? Cons in the Magical M3. No grills. Again, $85,000 speaker, no grills. I know Magical does not expect for every person who buys an $85,000 speaker to have a dedicated room. Okay, because I could easily be living here near South Beach at the top floor on a $5 million condo overlooking at the ocean, right? Don't tell me I got to have a dedicated room for it inside the condo, right? I don't. So, but I may have, if I'm an old man, I may have grandchildren that want to come by. Now I'm tripping because I'm worried they're going to come and poke woofers in, tweeters in, and damage the speaker, right? That's my biggest problem here. Why no grills, Magical? Why? How hard is that? Tell me. I'm waiting. No grills, really? $85,000 speaker, no grills. And don't tell me the whole, well, you're supposed to listen to them with the grills off. That's BS, okay? Yes, I understand that. But you know what? Some of us might want to protect them when we have little kids running around. You know, that's a thing. Unless you think men here or women don't have kids, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't care who you are. $85,000 speakers, okay? Not everyone is going to have a dedicated room for that speaker. You're going to have little kids at one point come in and poke holes and hurt the drivers. All right, which, you all ready for this? Brings me to my next point with Magical of damaging drivers. This is just straight up BS, guys. $2,400. You heard it. $2,400 per tweeter. As a matter of fact, I might be wrong. I think it's $2,800 per tweeter on this speaker. almost $3,000 per tweeter if you break a tweeter or below it. Okay? Remember that. So this is how Magical works, the logistics. You blow a tweeter, and we're talking, I want to make sure I say this, M series speaker, not an A series, not an S series, M series. And I want to say M because if you look at the M series design on the front of the speaker, there are no screws, no bolts, nothing around the drivers that shows you or indicates you that you should be able to pull it out yourself and replace it, right? Notice that, right? On the design, nothing. So guess what? That means you got to send the speaker into them. So now you are in a position to create one or potentially both speakers if you blew both tweeters, and ship them to California for about $1,200. Then they get them. Then they do some sort of a autopsy on the speaker, and then they say, okay, you blew it. It was your fault. We're not going to cover it. So $5,600 for the tweeters, labor another $800. That easily becomes a $7,000 bill. Plus, and here's the kicker. You ready for this? They don't facilitate shipping back to you. Let me repeat that again. They do not facilitate shipping back to you. They don't send you an email to say, guys, okay, here's the return shipping charges. No. They just send you an email saying, your speakers are ready at the loading dock. Please get them picked up. Really? So now you have to call all freight carriers everywhere across the United States or wherever you're located and figure out prices and figure out when and who and coordinate the logistics so that your speakers can get picked up. Again, $85,000 speaker company that's catering to the wealthy or the rich or famous or however you want to call it. They don't do that for you. They don't even bother to say, hey, here's the return shipping charges, whatever. Use their own company, whatever you want to say. No, they don't. I have never met a company, ever, audio company that does that. Never. So how is that possible, guys? How can that be possible that you're spending this kind of dough on a speaker and they don't even bother to help you to coordinate? I'm not even saying to pay for the return shipping. I'm saying to tell you, hey, speakers are ready. They're at the loading dock. We just need you to pay the return charges. Here they are, and that's it. They'll be on the truck and on their way to you. No, you have to do that yourself. That's BS. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like that, I have a problem with that. If I buy a Mercedes-Benz and my car is in for service or it needs to be going in for repairs, right? They give you a loaner, man. So you can go home, wait a couple of days until it's fixed, right? And then you return back when they call you for, your car's ready, sir. Right? They won't tell you, find a ride back to the dealer. Figure it out. Figure it out how you're going to get back to the dealer. They don't even tell you. No, you can actually call the dealer and say, guys, I need to be picked up. I don't have a ride. Mercedes-Benz will send somebody to come and get you and take you back to the dealer to get your car. That's what I'm saying, guys. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is BS. You're building $900,000 Magical M9s, and you're gonna do that to me? Hell no. I'm not buying $900,000 speakers, and you're gonna just they're at the loading dock. They're fixed. Go ahead, get them picked up. Who are you? But that's what I got a problem with that, and I don't know what it is. I just don't even want to continue on with this because it just really is like I'm ranting. I know that, but you'll need to hear that. Another con of this speaker, unlike the Stella, this speaker will not be smooth if the music you're playing is not of good quality. It's not going to do that for you. It'll give you the facts. It also does not do this feeling of quote unquote app conversion that the Stellas do, and I'll be talking about that shortly. It doesn't do that, so it can punish you. Also, it will punish you if your electronics are not good electronics. The Wilson audio speakers, the Alexia 2s, will not do that to you. The M3 will. You put a cheap blue sound, Bluetooth device on it or something, cheapy like that, and you will hear that through the Magical. You will. Remember, this speaker is about accuracy. That's really what this speaker is about. So if you're a person that's all about measurements, and you're a geek when it comes to that and the design and the cabinet, and and you're just all caught up on how good it measures, and you read the measurements on every single review, this is for you. All right, moving on to my final speaker, the Focal Stella Evo Utopia. Incredible smoothness, no fatigue ever, ever, ever. When you crank it up, the music just gets bigger and deeper. It never gets in your face like it does with the Alexia 2. It never does that. It gets huge, and you're just so comfortable in your chair that you don't really realize that you're listening at 100 decibels. It's got all the resolutions you can wish for, all the resolution you can wish for. You hear all this information, all this nuance without a problem. It's all there. It's got better imaging than the Magico M3, better imaging than the Alexia 2. Okay, there was a lot more separation as well on the instruments. I heard things to the right and to the left that were more pronounced. I was also able to, believe it or not, hear more of a difference between my Pandora and my Boulder 2110 when I was using the Stellas. A lot more differences. I was able to actually separate both and understand what each one did better than on the other two speakers. Longer decays than any other speaker on this list. It's got also the biggest sense of space and depth in between and behind the speakers. You can play every single recording, guys. Every single recording. You can dig up anything you got hiding somewhere, and it will play it, and it will give this feeling of app conversion. For you guys who do videos and you love the projectors and TVs, it does this feeling of you throw a 720p signal and it tries to turn it into 4K. I love that about that Stella. The Stella really, really sounded incredible with any recording. It was just, I kept playing song after song after song after song. And it's just, even the bad ones, guys, it never really gave you a road rash. You never felt like you were about to bleed from your ears. It never did. Now, of course, you can still tell that it's not a quality recording, but it sounds better than you've ever heard it before, period, through the Stella. Period. Let me see. Also, more adjustments than you can imagine. Not hard to place given the huge footprint. And this speaker actually could forgive mismatches in electronic equipment due to the fact that you can compensate with all the adjustments. For example, let's just say you buy an amplifier that has good mids, right, and highs, but not enough low-end control. You can go to the back of the speaker, change the bass adjustments, the jumpers that I showed you guys behind that little small door behind the speaker, or just, you can turn up the electromagnetic power supply of the woofer to compensate for that. You can help yourself with this type of speaker. This speaker is not going to, you can just fine tune things when you bring a component that is lacking something. That's one of the most beautiful things about the speaker. This is, in my opinion, the perfect speaker for the person who is sick and tired of analytical presentations and who simply wants everything they play to sound amazing, the best they've ever heard it. This is who buys this speaker. Period. Everything you play, iPhone, MP3 files, everything you play, this speaker is the speaker for that. It will sound incredible with everything you throw at it. The cons. Okay, the cons of this speaker, huge footprint. The footprint is just a huge speaker. It's about 63 inches tall. So it's like almost, over 6 feet tall. It's pretty tall. It's pretty wide. It's pretty deep. It's 348 pounds. It's a big elephant in the room. I'm not going to lie. It's an elephant in the room. It's expensive, $140,000. It is not as dynamic. It is not as dynamic as Wilson. I will say that. It is not as dynamic of a speaker as Wilson was. But I think the speaker is not about that. The speaker is more about winning you over with its smoothness, musicality, pace, relaxed feeling, effortlessness. That's what the speaker is about. Another con is I think you might need a bigger room than my room, which is 17 by 22, in order to really to have the speaker perform at its best. Now, it doesn't mean it didn't work in my room. It did. But I feel that if I had a larger room where I can spread the speaker maybe 12 feet apart, and I could be 12 feet apart, that would be a best case scenario for me. I think that would be around, where I'd like to be with the speaker. Also, of course, guys, I got to say the smoothness might not be everyone's cup of tea. So I understand if you are a purist, you might be against the Focal. You might be against its way about, the way it goes about its business, right? When it comes to giving you smoothness, musicality, resolution, but maybe you want bad songs to sound bad, like bad songs all the time. And this speaker just doesn't make anything sound bad. That could be a bad thing for some of you, and I can understand that. Okay, so you have to remember that. If you're looking for nothing but the facts, I think you're better off with the M3. But if you're looking for everything to sound great, I think the Wilson is the speaker as well as the Stella. One bad thing I would say is Focal might need to begin to completely change the Utopia design pretty soon. If they want to keep selling more of these speakers, I think the next version or iteration of the Focal Utopia line needs to be a complete redesign. They need to change it completely. It's been the same for this generation and the previous generation for the most part. Aesthetically speaking, they look the same. I think people, you guys are guilty of this, just like I am. If the speaker looks the same over and over and over again, you begin to lose interest in buying it. That's the reality, guys. Okay, and I think Focal is long overdue to really change the look of the speaker and do something really cool with it. So whenever they replace the Evo series, they need to really just redo it completely. It needs to look like a whole different animal when they have a new design, because you can only do so many changes, and if the aesthetics remain the same, everybody gets bored and tired and nobody buys it. Okay, so in short, Magnepen 20.7, the best speaker that I have ever owned under $25,000. One hell of a speaker for the money. A lot of fun, a lot of realism, big sound. It's really, really an incredible value. It really is. Wilson, the king of slam and dynamics and muscle. It really is. It's the king when it comes to that feeling of pressurizing the room and making you jump out of your seat. Because of the dynamic and the impact, Wilson is king when it comes to that. Magical is more of give me the facts. Magical is like a documentary. If you are a person that loves a documentary and you see facts, Magical is that. Magical will give you facts. Wilson is more like a musical, a movie, a musical like Hairspray, right? It's a musical. That's Wilson. Magical is a documentary for the person that loves facts. Give me the facts. Tell me how it is, and if it sounds good, let me feel it. Let me feel that I'm there. Give me the realism. That's really the difference between those two. And then Focal is in the middle. In my opinion, Focal lies right in the middle between Magical and Wilson. Focal, I think it has the best of both. Now, it doesn't capture Wilson's slam and dynamics, but it does capture the musicality, and it captures the detail of the Magical. So, it depends on what you're trying to do, but at the end of the day, all are serious speakers, great speakers, different price points. As you can see, we had the Magnepens being the cheapest for $15,000, Wilson Alexia for about $60, Magical M3 for about $85, and then the Utopia Stella Evos for $140. Four different price points, all do different things, and it really is about, at the end of the day, is about what you like, what you enjoy. Don't let anybody tell you, because it sounds bad to them, that it sucks. Doesn't matter. If either any of these speakers check your boxes, the most important boxes for you guys, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what he said, she said. It matters what you like, because at the end of the day, it is your money, right? It's your dough. It's your blood, sweat, and tears. So as long as you like it, that's all that matters. Hope you guys love the review. Stay tuned. There's a lot of changes that are about to happen. I'm waiting on something. I'm going to leave it at that. Hope you guys like the review. Please subscribe, guys. Talk to you soon. Good night.